Peace, Big CYC. This is the 5th episode of the Verbal Vortex Show. And my special guest, could you say your name for the people at home watching?
My name is Chris, and I also go by the pseudonym or artist name Persona 13.
Okay. Brother, it's a privilege to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So let's start off with my first question for you. What inspired you to combine music with carving and paintings in your album project, Avant Garde?
I think as an artist, you experiment and you try different things. You try different methods. You experiment, and you get to a place where you ask yourself, does this work? You sort of create a system for yourself, and I think I tried things in the past that I realized, for me, it didn't go the way that I expected or way that I wanted it to go. But I always had this sort of vision of merging my art with my music. The thing is it's always been difficult being multi-talented in that respect, because you sort of say to yourself, do I focus more on the music or do I focus more on the art? And it got to a point where I said, you know what I've tried in the past, it hasn't worked. Let me do something new and innovative, and let me merge the two. Let me create a synergy of the art and the music. Let me combine the two, and let's see how that works. Let's see how it goes. So it's really that idea, that spark, that just came to me, and then I started doing it.
Right.
I think it was like 2021.
Okay.
So from like 2021, after COVID hit, because throughout the whole pandemic, it was like thinking of different things, and everybody was indoors, and came out a little bit, but it was more about like what can I do? Do you know what I mean? What can I do that's different that nobody else has done? And that idea came. It came to me. So to answer the question, that was a whole sort of what can I say? That was the whole influence behind it. It was just more of like, I haven't done anything like this before. Let me do something that I haven't done before and that nobody's done before.
Yeah.
And let me present that to the world. Yeah.
That's dope, man, because doing something like that, it does take a lot out of an individual, but it takes a certain individual to piece these things together and package it in a certain way.
Thank you.
How did you come up with the concept of each song to have a corresponding carving and a painting?
I think I think a lot. I think a lot. So because I think a lot and I write a lot, I had a lot to say. And I think because we've had these conversations.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Let me get this belt off. I don't want to wear this belt. Suffocated me. But yeah, we've had these conversations, as friends, and I've got so much on my mind, and I think when you think about the world a lot, and when you're an introvert like me, a lot of people, they'll be like, oh no, Chris isn't an introvert, he's very sociable. And I'm really an introvert, and I look inside myself. Sometimes I think so much and I look inside myself that I need to get it out.
Yeah.
I need to write about what I see, what I hear, what I feel, and all of these things, these emotions, poured out on paper. A lot of the music the sort of music that I write is not really sort of like your conventional or it's not like what's out now, like in regards to your club music, your party music. It's more music that sort of relates to thought, music that you can connect to, the words, what's being said, the sound of the music, and that's, I said to myself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write these pieces of music, and I'm going to create art that reflects what I've written, and I'm going to that you can't separate the art from the music.
Right.
You can't separate the music from the art.
Right.
It's a combination. The art without the music is just it's half a glass full. So whatever you get in relation to the music, the art makes it whole, and vice versa. So it's and all of that was done in stages. So I had to do that one stage at a time. So what I mean by stages is the writing process. So I do like the writing process. Let's say, for example, a track called Walk on Water, right, where I'm talking about a lot of internal pain, things that I've been through. And that track, I said to myself, well, what am I going to do in relation to the art? How am I going to make the art? What is it going to look like? What is the canvas going to look like? What is the foreground going to look like? Which colours am I going to use? Which materials in regards to paints, inks? What am I going to use? And it just required a lot of thought. Every single piece required a lot of thought. So yeah, it's integral that the two are looked at as one.
Yes. It's interesting you said that, because I was going to ask you, the next question I was going to ask you is, can you walk us through the creative process of creating the music, carving and painting for each song? Maybe not for each song, but maybe could you pick a song and give us maybe a slight detail on how you feel about it?
Do you know what? It's interesting that you say that. I'm just trying to think now, because I'll pick, let's say, like, for example, I haven't released the song yet and the video yet, but it's called Tree of Life.
Okay.
Tree of Life. And Tree of Life, like, that was very special, very, very special. I used like alcohol inks for that, because I like to use a lot of spray paints on my canvases.
Okay.
So I use spray paint, alcohol inks, and spray paint for the foreground on that piece, and that, because I wrote, it was almost like talking to the listener and asking the listener to question things. You know what I mean? Like, I was getting the listener to question things. Have you ever walked on the road? Do you know what I mean? Whilst a man is shaking in tin. Like, these sort of like questions, that a lot of people, when they walk, they might not think about these things. Do you know what I mean? And it's very introspective. It gets you to question yourself. Because even now, when I listen to that song, I question myself.
Right. And
I say to myself, how could I have written this, which is a song that allows people to question themselves?
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing. And like, for instance, I'll name one more, because I know you asked for one, but I'll quickly just name one more. The Blind Lead the Blind. I'm talking about societal issues.
Right.
I'm talking about everything in relation to societal issues in London.
Right.
that we're facing in Britain currently. And I'm talking about financial, social, political, covering all these sort of things. And the piece itself is, they're emojis, smiley faces, emojis, that are different colours. And different colours represent the different people and the different emotions that people have. But what I did was the eyes were all crossed out.
Okay.
The eyes had X's, or the eyes have X's on that piece. And the reason why I did that was to display the blind leading the blind.
Okay, I get you.
So you have in the middle, you have one giant emoji, and they're all smiling because they're ignorant to what they're following. They're ignorant to, like, we just accept what's being told to us. We go with others' core values and beliefs, and we think, you know, that's right, instead of looking internally and looking at our own and acknowledging our own. So yeah, the blind lead the blind, and the tree of knowledge. I think those two resonate the most to me in regards to, yeah.
Okay. So moving a bit forward, like in the future terms of things, like I remember a conversation that we had where you were speaking about the journey that you would like this project to take is for it to be in a gallery. So I wanted to know, how do you envision the experience for visitors at the gallery when they listen to the songs while viewing the art pieces?
To make it immersive.
Okay.
An immersive experience where you have a piece of art that's displayed, or you have the artwork displayed, and it may be by having a QR code that you scan, and that QR code will take you to a link where you can listen to the music.
Okay.
So the viewer is listening to what's being said whilst they're looking at the art. So I've always had that in mind. As well as, you know, artwork, prints that are being sold. I haven't really, I mean, I've visited a few galleries. I've reached out to a few galleries. The art world can be difficult, can be, you know, really challenging because there's a lot of artists out here. But nevertheless, you know, you just have to keep trying until you get a breakthrough. And so yeah, it's just like prints, you know, that I would like to do where you have a QR code on a print. Things that I'd like to do, like, you know, clothing, t-shirts with the artwork on it, QR code maybe on the sleeve, you scan it and then you can listen to the music. So there's different ideas that I have that eventually I will do. That's in the works actually. So
respect.
Yeah.
What themes or messages are you trying to convey through the music and artwork in Avant Garde?
Okay. Themes and messages through the artwork.
Through the artwork and through the music.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll start with the artwork.
Yeah.
I think the name, because the name persona, I know we'll probably get to that, but I won't touch on that just yet. What I'll do is I'll talk about the differences between the art, because every single piece of art, although some of the mediums and methods are the same. So, for instance, spray paints, acrylic paints, inks, you know, different sort of like textures that were created by using like fillers and things like that. Although those were used on the canvases and you know the offcuts that I've done, those pieces are individual to themselves. So when you look at each piece, it's almost like you're looking at a different person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the music is the same. It's similar. They're all different. All the topics that I'm talking about are different. none are the same. I've made sure that even the beats, because I make my own beats,
Right.
I produce all the instrumentals that I've made sound different. They don't sound the same.
Right.
So it ties in with persona, because each piece has their own persona. But what sort of what binds them together is you'll see my signature pattern that I use.
Yeah.
So that's what sort of relates them together. That, oh, I can tell, Christopher Coker done that Persona 13. I can tell he done that because it has his pattern, it has his signature pattern, and there's a rule that goes with it. But each piece in itself is individual, and they all tell their own story. And the music, they have their own. So that's how you sort of can tell, the difference between each piece. Yeah.
Interesting, because it kind of merges with this question where I was going to ask you, like, how important is the synergy between the music, carving, and paintings in this project?
It's everything. It's everything, and I think sometimes I look at having these talents as a heavy burden, and I think I've spoken to you about this before, and I say that in the sense of when you've been given a gift, when you've been ordained with talent, and you try and you try and you try. Maybe you haven't tried hard enough. Maybe you need to try new methods. Maybe, life can take over, and things happen, you know what I mean? But I've always sort of stuck to the point of making sure that no matter what I do, I have to combine the two. I have to make sure that I'm not neglecting one.
Right.
For years, there've been years that I went without making any art, and there have been years that I went without writing or producing, right? Making music in regards to like producing a whole song. And I said, no, with this, I have to. The synergy is important. It's so important. It's everything, and I think with whatever I do, that's what it will always be. That's what it will always be. Like I will not create art without making music for that art. I can't, because it's something that I'm doing now. That's what I do. When you see a piece of art, just know that there will be a piece of music to go with that art.
It's very interesting and unique. I have to ask you though, what challenges did you face in bringing this unique concept to life?
I'm glad you asked that question, because it's been going on, as a friend. I won't mention that. But I think the death of my mother and father and dealing with everything that's come after it, burying my parents and losing my family, and I think that's been the motivation. I've had people believe in me, people have cared, people have given me opportunities, to help me. But at the same time, there's been a lot of people that have really taken advantage of me and hurt me, and I feel as if my art and my talent sometimes are all I have to rely on, so those things have kept me going in regards to sort of creating. You know what I mean? Like the internal pain that I have. We talk, say, you know, as brothers, as friends, and you know, do you know what I mean? But the internal pain that I have to have an outlet for it. I have to have an outlet for what's inside, because if I don't, or if I didn't, you know, so that's my outlet.
Right.
You know, the motivation, what keeps me going, what helps me to sort of create these pieces of art is that pain. It is that pain. It's the things that I've faced over the past 15 years of my life is what, you know, has kept me going. It's only people that are close to me that really know, and you're very close to me, so you know. And it's you know, so those things, I'm in a certain way, I'm thankful for those things, because they've allowed me to sort of reach this point where I'm able to create. You know, some people, it's almost like, what inspires you to make this? What has inspired you to write this? What has inspired you to be great at what you do? You can ask any creative, and they have a reason or a story. The passion, you know, the vigor, the you know, the ability to be able to transmute what's inside of them and put it in material, make it reality, you know. So that's what it's been, you know. Like I've been through so much that I had to take everything that I've been through, and I've had to sort of consolidate it and channel it and release it. You know, and that's what I've done.
That's dopeness, bro.
Thank you.
How do you choose the materials for the carvings, paintings that complement each song?
So I use medium density fiber. I could use real wood, but I find it more sustainable and a lot more affordable for me to be able to use medium density fiber. So usually what I'll do is I'll sketch or I'll draw like patterns, and then I'll think of a concept, and it might be an image of something. I'll illustrate it, because I have a background in illustration. I'll illustrate that image, create a pattern around it, and it's almost like there's a story in front of me. So now, what am I going to do to bring that story to life? How can I add more to that image? And then what I'll do is canvas. So I'll get a canvas, and then I say to myself, well, what am I going to do to relate the MDF outcut with my pattern onto the canvas? How can I connect the two? It's all about like connections, because you connect that with that, then you connect that with that, and then I think about, I have these colors. What am I going to use? Which colors am I going to use on this piece to help with this story? You see, and then I sort of plan that out. Like, okay, I'll use these colors. I won't use no more than these colors. I'll use this medium. So it might be acrylic paint. It might be inks. I'll use these mediums on the canvas. And then what I'll do is attach the MDF to the canvas afterwards. And then there we are. That's the marriage of the two. But yet, that's the marriage of that within the art. But yet, I need to distill the music. So I need to think of the sort of beat that I'm going to create. Am I going to have violin being played? I like organic sounds. a violin, a cello. Am I going to have maybe drums, a trumpet, a piano? And then if I do, how is that going to sound when I write with the writing process? Because it's all about, it's connecting, right? So it's like, okay, cool. I need to do the foreground, I need to draw the pattern. It starts from somewhere. Draw the pattern, attach that on the MDF that's cut out onto the canvas. All right, cool. Before I do that, I need to think about the colors, the mediums that I'm going to use. Marry that, cool. Now I might have the music to do, or I may have written the music beforehand. And then you need to think of how you're going to bring those two together. You know, that's the whole process of this thing. And it's been a journey, because whilst you're doing it, things happen in life. You know, things happen to throw you off, but you have to persevere through it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to make it work. You know what I mean? So I reached that point with that.
What kind of emotions do you hope to invoke in the audience through this multimedia experience?
I think many emotions. I want people to feel joy. I want people to feel sadness. I want people to feel hope. I want people to feel pain. I want people to feel love. I want people to feel all the emotions within the spectrum that they can feel. You know, because when you listen to the music, I mean, if some people, they like hip hop. Some people, hey, they don't like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not it doesn't tickle your fancy. You know, there's music that is out there that I'm like, hey, do you know, it's not for me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. No disrespect. It's just, you like what you like, innit? But at the end of the day, I've always liked hip hop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And growing up listening to hip hop, man, I think for me, it gave me a lot of emotions, because I'm a person that listens to the words. Yeah, the beat needs to bang, but it needs to slap. But I need to listen to what that person's saying. And if they're not saying anything of substance, for me, if they're not saying anything of substance, hey.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I always felt different emotions. I always felt sort of, you know, I'm not going to name any artists, but just by listening to certain artists, they made me feel a certain way. And I was trying, like, whilst I'm doing this, I'm like, well, what sort of artist do I want to be? What sort of creative do I want to be? You know, I have to am I putting a message out for people to listen and learn and feel what I've written? Or am I just making music to make money? Am I just making music just to get people to dance to am I trying to sound like the next guy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like the next guy. Because the 10 other guys that sound like the next guy sound like the next guy.
Right.
And I'm not trying to sound like that guy. I'm trying to sound like me. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't like how I sound, hey, you don't like it. But if you like it, if you understand, if you take time to listen, if you're a person of thought, if you're a person that likes to reflect on things in life, then it would, you know, I'm trying to reach you. You know, I'm trying to get to you, you know, and that's what it is, you know.
How does the album as a whole tell a cohesive story through the combination of music and visual art?
I think, again, it comes down to the connection between the materials that are used. So that's the cohesion. The fact that, you know, when you're listening to it, you know that, okay, this has all come from Persona 13. This has all come from this guy. Like, nobody else is, do you know what I mean? Other than, like, sort of like the musicians that I may have worked with in regards to those that play, like, live, you know, music instruments. This has all come from this person's mind, and this has all come from this person's energy.
Right.
So you know that whenever you're listening, whenever you're looking, these things, you know, they evoke feelings. You know, they evoke feelings, and I think that's the synergy, that's the connectivity, that you know that when you're looking, and with any artist, you know, they have their own particular style or way of doing things, but you know that when you're looking, okay, this has come from this person, and if this person were to die today, I know that this came from this person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I know 30 years from now, whatever, this came from that person. They left a signature style. They left an impression. Do you know what I mean? So that's the sort of relationship that I would say each piece has.
Okay.
Or have, yeah.
So will the art pieces be available for sale after the exhibition at the gallery?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
So what I would like, what I hope for, what I want to do is exhibit the artwork within galleries. You know, it doesn't have to be a particular gallery. Whichever gallery is willing to accept me for what I do, great. You know, great. First off, actually, it's one of those things, being an introvert, because having to sort of like establish relationships with other people is really important within art. And I'm a teacher. I teach primary education.
Okay.
And it's very like my time, I work out and this and that. But at the end of the day, I can't make excuses, because I've done all of this for what? You know what I mean? I have to get all of this out. I have to put this out, because if I don't, it's just like a waste. Do you know what I mean? So what I hope to do is exhibit, or what I want to do, exhibit the work within a galleries, okay? As well as sell prints, you know, clothing to go with that, accessories and other things. That's what I want to do. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So
that's pretty dope, man.
yeah.
What was I going to say to you? How did you decide on the title Avant Garde?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So just like the Renaissance, you know, there's a Renaissance in, you know, the 20th century, and it was in France, and the way it was looked at was a resurgence of, you know, creatives, and they were known as, you know, the Avant Garde, and it was sort of, you know, revival of music, art, creativity, fashion, you know, it's just, you know, a new sort of like wave of doing things.
Yeah.
Within creativity. So the avant-garde is really like, it's touching on that. Do you know what I mean? It's touching on that aspect of you know what that is, the essence of that. And within this particular day and age, sometimes I'm not saying it is, because like we live in an amazing time now where we're seeing so many creatives, so much creativity is out there. But with the creativity that's out there, I don't see anybody else that is really, you know, doing what I'm doing. So I want to sort of be a representative of that, you know, that established, you know, wave of what's new in regards to sort of, hey guys, I'm letting you know that this is a new way of doing things. Hop on the wave, you know, this is a new way of creativity. It's not just about doing one thing anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's not about like you've been given multiple gifts. You know, like for you, do this? You've released so much music. Do you know what I mean? As well as other things that you've been doing, as well as like mentoring, and you do a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like we are not here to just do one thing. Like, do you know what I mean? So I feel as if like I've got myself into a place now where I look within the context of society now, and I've said to myself, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm here for a reason. What can I do to make difference and change within this point in time that we're in? And I think I'm a representative of that, and that's what I want to share with the world. You know, before I leave this world, that's what I want to share and give. So that's why I call it the Avant Garde. It's a revival of what's new. You know, if you wanna jump up and down to the same music, by all means, do it. You know what I mean? I ain't doing it, but you know what I mean? You know, if you want to listen to the same sort of music over and over again, you are stuck in the loop. Great. You know, I don't want to be in that loop. I'm not a part of that. I want to do something new.
Something innovative.
Something innovative. You know.
I hear that, man.
Yeah.
What kind of reactions or feedback have you received from people who have experienced Avant Garde so far?
Do you know what? I don't think I've received much traction yet. I haven't. It's only like people that have been close to me that I could say I have. Yeah, it's honestly, it's just people that have been close to me that believe in me, that truly believe in me, you know, that have, you know, other than that, I haven't, I mean, like, I've reached out to, like, galleries and people, but they're not really, you know, again, it's competitive, the art world, you know, so I haven't been given my flowers. I haven't been given my flowers.
How do you see the audience interacting with your art pieces and music during the exhibition at your gallery?
I think the initially when I had this idea, it was more about people, because you know what, like when you look at art, right? A lot of thoughts come into the mind, right? Like the textures, the colours, the overall sort of fluidity of the art, the foreground, the background, maybe a person in there, there may be an image, something as simple as a flower or a painting of the sun, but there's always something in there that gets you. And that's what it was with this. It's how can I do that and relate it to the music using my own style, right? But at the same time, let's say them being able to listen to my music and really acknowledging what I've put out there, do you know? So again, the idea with the QR code being scanned whilst you look at the art has always been a way of people being able to sort of connect, you know, and that's what I've always had in mind. And I hope that when that does happen, people really do get to have those emotions, you know, within the art and the music be felt, because that's what it is. I want people to feel what I've done. You know, you look at a piece of art, you feel something. When you listen to music, you feel something. It makes you feel happy. It can make you feel sad. You know, it evokes these emotions, and that's what I want to do, to make people feel. Yeah.
Are there any hidden meanings or symbols in the carvings and paintings that listeners should be aware of?
If they're hidden, I shouldn't really talk about them. But but yeah, I think everything is symbolic. Like the titles of the artwork, the so like the titles of the artwork, the colours, everything's been done. I'd say more so the titles. The titles, you know, a rose by any other name. You know, that was an excerpt from William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Is an example of that. Because one would say, well, why did he decide to use that? Why would he use that? But it's the actual symbology of it. It's the actual sort of deeper meaning behind it, relating to Romeo is saying that to Juliet. You know, that, you know, I love you so much that I'm willing to sort of say the most beautiful phrase to you, you know, and I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that. It's a timeless sort of statement. Do you know what I mean? Walk on water. You know, that piece, Walk on Water, that's my favourite song. That's my favourite piece and song, Walk on Water, because...
And that's in the Avant Garde?
That's in the series, yeah.
Okay.
Walk on Water. So Walk on Water was when I wrote that and when I displayed that, man, the symbology of it, you know. The symbology of it, you know, because I'm going into like Abrahamic references relating to sort of, you know, Moses walking the mountains, Muhammad praying in the dark, Jesus walking on water, you know, all of these things that, you know, have sort of created, let's say, deeper meaning, like deeper symbolic connectivity that people have with these faiths. You know, these things have changed the landscape of humanity over time.
Yeah.
And why would I title that Walk on Water? Because it's one of the greatest things that any person could do, you know, walking on water. We only know of one person that managed to do that, and with all the pain and the hurt that person was put through, they still have an impact. Do you know what I mean? Even after that person passed, they still have an impact. And I'm just, I use that title symbolically to make that statement of, okay, through all the pain and all the hurt, because I'm talking about a lot of painful things on there, and I had to do that. I had to release it. With all the pain and all the hurt, you are still going to remember that one thing that person done. You will remember that miracle, walking on water, even after that person's gone. You'll remember it. What is one of the greatest things that person ever did? walking on water.
That's yeah, I get you, man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I put a lot of thought into the titles, and those are symbolic. They have deeper meanings, deeper esoteric meanings, deeper esoteric meanings. Very, very deep meanings behind it.
What techniques or processes do you use to ensure that the music and visual art complement each other seamlessly?
Techniques.
Yeah.
That the music and the art complement each other.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really how would I say that that I could get them to complement each other? Techniques. It comes down to the materials. Other than sort of like the signature style, it comes down to the materials. When you hear my voice on the music, hopefully you can tell it's me. Yeah. A lot of the time you can tell it's me. I can hear him. But with the artwork, I love using spray cans. I love using, the whole element, of using like cans, like I'll just go out and get a load of Cobra cans, different colours. Do you know what I mean? And using the cans on the artwork, using the spray paint on the artwork, flowing, like it's very fluid, and I love using that sort of technique. I love using that. Whereas like with the music, just the sort of whole like the writing process and how I'm going to flow over this beat. What direction should I take? Am I spitting fast? Is it slow? Do you know what I mean? What am I going to do? Do I switch it up here? Do I not? So all of those sort of techniques really they're very methodical, like, do you know what I mean? But in saying that, sir, like, I'll be honest that when it comes to this is like the start, because whatever I do from here on out, it's just it will not sound the same. It will sound different. Like whatever I do, I could my flows might change, my beats might change, the live instrumentalist or whatever sort of instrument might change. Do you know what I mean? Or the materials that I use to create, or whatever I convey on the canvas may change. Do you know what I mean? So those techniques are forever sort of changing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Using mixed media methods, techniques on each of the pieces, and mixing it up within the music that's what it's about. Yeah.
How do you think this multimedia approach to music and art it challenges traditional album formats?
I think like we're in the digital era, and like we're in the digital era now. So like everything's changed, and you have to be what it is now. Whereas like before, you could just like create some music, find a label, distributor, investors, put it out, see how people feel. It might chart, it might not. Or with art, contact galleries, which I still need to do, which I am doing, communicate, find who you know that can take you to that level, and then you know, you see where it goes from there. Now you have to do the groundwork.
That's right.
Now, like, we're in an era, because it's so oversaturated, yeah, that like so many people are doing it, and you have to say, well, how do I do it different in order for me to be, do you know what I mean? Am I just like him, or am I just like her? Do you know what I mean? How am I going to do it in a way where nobody else has done it, you know? And I think you have to, whatever you do, you have to think outside of that box in order for you to be sort of, I'm not saying people can't blow, like doing what other people do. People can, you know what I mean? But I just think that it's all about being yourself, you know, be yourself, be who you are, be true to yourself. You don't have to do what other people are doing to be accepted. You don't. Just be yourself, be true to who you are, you know? So yeah, I've never sort of, you know, if people do what they do, and as long as you're not hurting anyone, or, do you know what I mean? As long as you're not like ruining somebody else's life intentionally, then by all means try different things, you know. And that's what I think, you know. That's what I think.
Dope, man. How do you think the audience's understanding or interpretation of the music changes when accompanied by visual art pieces?
What do you mean? So when,
like, how do you think they?
Right.
How would you perceive that they take in or understand what you're presenting to them musically when it's delivered with an actual art piece to go with it?
Right. Excellent question.
Yeah.
With that, right, I've always said to myself, well, people might like classical music. They might not fuck or mess with, you know, hip hop. Do you know what I mean? They're like, this is that street stuff, and I can't relate to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? So I've always had that in my mind, like, jeez, how are people gonna accept me for me? Do you know what I mean? You know, I love hip hop in its purest form, in its purity. I love hip hop. Do you know what I mean? I don't like rap, but I love hip hop. And it's always been a part of me. It's always been. Anybody that knows me knows that it's always been a part. You can't separate me from hip hop. Do you know what I mean? Till I die, it's the one art form that I'm just like, you know, I love you. But at the same time, it's like there may be audiences that might not take to it. There might be people that might switch off. That might be like, oh, it's that noise. Turn it off. Again, that turn that noise off. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I say to myself, well, what am I gonna do to be able to reach those people? They might just want to look at the art. They might not want to listen to the music. Do you know what I mean? What can you do? So that's where I was like bringing elements of live sounds in, because it's like I didn't want it to sound too. I mean, there are tracks that are like digital sounds, but not many. And majority of them have like live like guitars, or, you know, like I said, piano, or, you know, violin, you know, organic instruments. So even if it's like, well, you know what, I can listen to this, because it may be, well, let me give it a chance, because this doesn't sound like what what's out there and what is classified as noise to me. Do you know what I'm saying? So with that, I had that in mind because it's like I'm trying to reach different audiences. Do you know what I mean? I mean, some people, you know what I mean, they love the noise. They love, like, they love it. They love it. And it's like, cool. But if you love that, this isn't it. Do you know what I'm saying? If you love that, then don't expect that from me because I'm not coming to that. Some people might, oh, he's boring. He just, like, everything it's just boring. Cool. If you think it's boring, don't listen to my stuff. Like, just ignore me. Do you know what I mean? But if you really like to think, if you're a person of thought, if you like to listen to words, if you like to, you know, then please give it time. Give it time. If you acknowledge and you appreciate art, please give it time. If you're one of those people, you know, that.
What kind of impact do you hope that Avant Garde will have on the art and the music industries?
I hope it changes and shifts everything. In fact, I want it to. I want it to change everything because everything is stagnant. Everything is stagnant, and there is so many creatives. Like, there are so many creative people out there that, and that's the whole point of naming it Avant Garde, because when you have a movement of people, do you know what would be an ideal situation? To have a movement of people who are creatives like me, where we can make an impact on society, all right, within the world and change, you know, within your environment. A resurgence of people that, whatever internal issues they have, they're able to channel that creatively. Do you know what I mean? In a different way from other people, like experimenting in different ways. So you maybe like a fashion designer who's a singer, you know, or somebody that has parkour and raps. Do you know what I mean? Like, these sort of things, you know, it's just more about being one thing. You know what I mean? So I hope, like, the impact that of whatever I'm doing, depending on where this takes me and where I go, and or whoever decides to believe in me or whatever, right? It's really about like giving people that opportunity to be able to sort of showcase their talent to the world. Yeah, that's the impact that I hope the machine that we know as the music industry decide to sort of acknowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe the overall style of the carvings and paintings in relation to the music on the album?
The style in relation to the music,
yeah,
on the album. The art's contemporary art. The style of the music is very. Do you know what? I'll just use that word. I'll use the word unique. You know, it's incredibly unique. The style complements the art. The art complements the style. And I think that had I have like created music that was different to the art, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't have worked. Like, looking at all of the pieces that I've created, for this series, if I were to sort of say, do you know, like I've done it actually, Si. Like I'll give you an example. I created a piece and I was like, oh, I don't like that instrumental. Let me switch it up. And it sounded different. It sounded better. Like the genre of the music that I made changed. It changed everything. The whole energy of the piece changed. Like genuinely, because the first one that I did, like song that I made for that piece, it was like, ooh, it's not really hitting, it's not connecting. And then when I made it, when I switched it up, changed some bars, and do you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, this is it, you know. So they really go hand in hand. It really, the style of the music and the art, it has to work. It has to work together. The rule is that it works together. You know, like the thing is that like doing with this, because I have fun with it. I enjoy doing it. But whenever I do this, it's like it has to work. If it doesn't work, then I'm like, no, I'm starting again. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's really that.
Dope. Okay, so finally, what future plans do you have for Avant Garde after the gallery exhibition?
Do you know what? I want to create another series. Ideally what I'd love to do is to keep exhibiting work. Future plans will be to work a lot bigger. I don't have a studio. I'm a full-time primary school teacher. I work out a lot. Where I am, I don't have enough sort of space to work big, and it hurts. It hurts. Yeah, it really, really hurts, because I love to work grander, bigger. You know, I really, really want to work bigger, express a lot more. And when I look at other artists that are able to do that, man, I'm just like, you are so lucky, you know, like to be in a position where you can do that. Do you know what I mean? So I'd love to work bigger. I'd love to sort of connect a lot more with other artists, with galleries, you know, people within the art world, maybe within the music world, and really just get out there. Do you know what I mean? And work more with other people, be it with like more sort of people that play instruments, you know, pianos, violinists, you know, people that work like in orchestras. Like I love to work with an orchestra. I'd love to do a whole series where I'm just making like classical music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And using my instrumentals with their music, and you know, I'd love to do that. That's like a life's dream. Do you know what I mean? And just sort of like experimenting, you know, with different genres of music. Do you know what I mean? As well as like working bigger, creating more, another series of art, more series pieces, selling my pieces of art. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately, because that's what I want to do. I want to sell my art. Do you know what I mean? I want to sell my art. I want to monetize from my creativity.
Rightfully so.
You know, so yeah, so that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure as always.
Oh, bruv.
Yeah.
Nothing but love. But for those that are watching, can you give them your social media so they can find you at any point?
Right, you can find me at Persona Avant Garde at Instagram. So if you on Instagram, it's PESONAAVANT GUARDE. Okay, and that's at Instagram. And the same thing for TikTok. TikTok, PERSONA AVANTGUARDE on TikTok, and also Persona133 on Instagram, PERSONA 133, and that's on Instagram as well. So yeah, if you're an artist or whoever and you would like to connect, then yeah, if you're watching this, it would be nice. Yeah.
Love, family.
Always.
Peace, peace, peace.